Thanks for joining in, everybody. Welcome back to Average Guys. I'm Matt.
I'm Jimmy.
And we are Two Average Guys. That was the used Rise Up lights. Once again, I think I have to mention that just so they can actually play this video online. So,
cool.
Welcome back, though. We are here to talk to you about this last weekend. Sorry we couldn't do a show on Sunday like normal. Personal life shit again. Sometimes that happens.
We also kind of wanted to wait until the rankings came out, right?
Yeah, so we wanted to do a show last night, and then of course it's Halloween, and you know you got nieces and nephews, and I got nieces and nephews, and it just didn't work out. So we're glad to be back. We're glad to be here, and glad to bring you our thoughts and feelings of this last weekend. We'll talk Husker football. We'll talk about the other games that happened this last Saturday, and we'll also talk about the playoff picture.
Yeah.
Came out. The playoff rankings came out last night. There's a little bit of surprise there. We were just talking about it before the show, so we want to talk about our thoughts and our feelings, and we want you to interact and share your thoughts and feelings on what's going on in the playoffs. So should be exciting, and then we'll break down the Nebraska Husker game a little bit and talk about this upcoming week and the games that we have coming up here.
I didn't see what was Nebraska ranked in the first rankings.
They almost squeaked in the top 10. I think they're like in the 50s though.
Oh dang!
They're really close.
Oh dang!
Really close. So let's just jump right into it. And like I said, you guys, if we end up getting anybody watching this during the baseball game,
yeah, sorry about that.
Anyone watching during the baseball game, go ahead and let us know. Tag your questions. Let us know.
The game's gonna go till like 12:30 anyway, so you might as well watch us and then pick the game up in like the 8th because that's when it usually gets good.
I'd say we're way cooler, but we're really not. The game's pretty awesome.
The game's pretty good.
Let's go ahead and start off by talking about the games that happened over the weekend. There were some surprise upsets, including number 2 and number 4 losing over the weekend. Number 2 actually wasn't so much surprise because they were not favored. But let's talk about Oklahoma State, West Virginia. So I was number 11 at number 22 prior to the new rankings coming out. Oklahoma State ended up winning 50-39. So we've talked about Mason Rudolph before. We've talked about the Heisman with Mason Rudolph, and it's like they lost one game, and the talk about Mason Rudolph kind of went downhill. And even though in that loss, I'm pretty sure he had like 4 touchdown passes and still threw for over 300 yards in that game. So what are your thoughts on Rudolph and Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State was my preseason playoff pick. I still kind of hoping that they can maybe win the Big 12 or Iowa State. Get some teams to knock off Oklahoma and TCU, which Iowa State has. Yeah. But, it's kind of weird because they lost to TCU, who's been up highly ranked for the last few weeks, and it was like he had that loss, and it was just, he was done. So, I don't know. I know some guys are popping up, really starting to make a stand.
And we'll talk Heisman. That's something we didn't mention, but we will talk Heisman because it's something we didn't really talk about before the show, but I'm pretty sure we're comfortable winging it because there's so many people you can put in the race.
Yeah, it was Barkley's for the whole season pretty much until these last couple weeks, especially this last week. So.
Yeah. Number 4 TCU, speaking of the devil, number 4 played number 25 Iowa State. Now, this is a game we talked about because going to Iowa State, with how good the Cyclones have been playing lately, this is one of those games that if you're betting in Vegas and you bet Iowa State, that was a really good bet because Iowa State ended up playing one hell of a game against TCU. And typically, when you think Big 12, you think offense.
Right. Yeah, 14-7 game.
But Iowa State is also not a high-powered offense. It's their defense that helps them win those games, even when they do score some points.
Right.
So Iowa State pulls off the win 14-7. So not a lot of points scored, and to hold TCU to 7 points, you got to think of what else they can do in the Big 12 in their upcoming games, which we'll talk about who they have. We won't talk about who they have, but we'll talk about a couple teams that they're going to play. A couple other teams do play them, which could have a big impact on the college football playoff picture here over the next couple weeks. So, pretty exciting. Iowa State takes down number 4 TCU.
Yeah, I thought it would be close, but I really didn't think that they'd be able to pull that out. But I'm glad they did.
Yeah, I think I picked Iowa State. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
I like throwing in those weird ones every now and again. So then number 9 Notre Dame at number 4 NC State. So we thought
actually, sorry, I wrote it down wrong. It was NC State at Notre Dame.
Oh yeah, so sorry, NC State at Notre Dame. So they played at Notre Dame. NC State coming in hot in the ACC, looking really good, looking to blow off Notre Dame and put themselves in the playoff picture. But the role was reversed.
Started out close. NC State had a blocked punt for a touchdown. Yep. They kind of went back and forth.
Notre Dame ended up getting a pick 6.
to
kind
start
of
the
turn
second
the tables
half.
a little bit in the second half and really put them in the driver's seat during that game.
And Josh Adams just ran for like 200 yards like he has every game. So.
And so a lot of people had questions about Notre Dame still, and to me, this was a key game for them. An NC State team who a lot of people weren't taking serious. They were number 14, but they really didn't think too much about them. I know I talk a lot about them, but I think this was a key game for Notre Dame to show what they're made of.
Yeah, NC State's defense has been playing really well, and they don't give up very many rush yards, and Notre Dame was able to run on them, which they have been able to do to everyone this year.
Yeah, so I mean, you really look at Adams, you look at Wimbush. I mean, Adams is, I think, junior.
I'm not sure what he is. He's big and he's fast.
He's big and he's fast. Yeah, that's very true. But Wimbush coming in, Notre Dame's got a bright future with him at the helm. But you look at Notre Dame now, they take out NC State, big game for them, which we'll talk about playoff picture here in a second. Georgia Tech at Clemson, thought that would be a pretty darn good game. It was 24-10. So not really too impressive. Clemson didn't put up a lot of points. Clemson moved up to number 4, which we'll talk about in the playoff as well. Nebraska beat Purdue in a comeback win. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but the Huskers won 25-24. Another stressful, heart attack game for Husker fans, but I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Nebraska wins. Number 2,
we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. Number 2, Penn State loses at Ohio State. So Ohio State was favored in that game. Ohio State was winning 39-35.
Was it 39? No, it was 39-38. Yeah, because they went for 2 and they didn't get it. Penn State just needed to kick a field goal, but they couldn't move the ball. Trust me.
Is that right?
Trust me.
I looked at the score. I thought maybe my eyes are bad. Anyway, so 39-38.
Yep.
So Ohio State takes care of Penn State. Number 6 beats number 2. Now, that's big for the East in the Big Ten because Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State were all tied for first in the Big Ten East. So now you got Ohio State in the driver's seat in the Big Ten East. But we still got games coming up. There's still some games to play for all these teams. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. We look at Wisconsin and Miami both also won. They're both still undefeated. Got an 8-0 and a 7-0 team. Miami's 7-0 because when we had the Hurricanes, they had to forfeit a game to where neither team could play. So unfortunate for them, but they're still 7-0.
Which it wouldn't make a difference because whoever they didn't play was some.
It wasn't a conference game.
Yeah, some pushover team. So.
And then another game to talk about that we didn't actually even bring up because we didn't really think it was going to be much. But Northwestern ended up beating Michigan State.
Triple overtime.
In triple OT, they beat them 39-31. So that was pretty exciting to see Northwestern, who's struggled this year, to come out and beat a ranked team. Pat Fitzgerald, when he prepares his teams for ranked opponents, that's when those opponents really got to watch out because Northwestern is one of those sneaky teams that they can get it done. And Pat Fitzgerald prepares his teams for those big battles, and then it's like the rest of the teams that are unranked, he just sucks against. But
no, it's kind of funny because since we joined the Big Ten, that's probably been our closest game every year. We've talked about it the last couple of years. And we've got them coming up this weekend.
Yep.
They're always close, whether we were really good a couple of years back or... we weren't as good. The games are always close.
Oh, yeah.
So, expect another close one this weekend. I think Northwestern's a 1-point favorite.
They were 1 point. The starting line was 1 point.
I thought I saw it was still 1 today. I don't.
It might still be.
It probably still is, but that could change over the next few days.
We'll talk about that in a minute, but it's at Nebraska, which they always play as tough, but it's at home. I hope we show up.
I always hope that we show up.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, let's talk playoff. So the big talk was, every year after week 8 or after week 9, you get the playoff picture and you get to really see, hey, who's in the driver's seat, who's in the rearview mirror, and who's being left in the dust. So we got our top 4, which I'm a little shocked, but not really, because you look at Georgia and Alabama at 1 and 2 in that order. Georgia at number 1.
I said I thought Georgia would be number 1.
And I'm glad they are. I think their schedule. I think they've played better. I think their opponents have been tougher, even though same conference, same SEC. But I think Georgia has had a tougher schedule than Alabama. Alabama's schedule has been kind of weak this year.
And they've been blowing teams out. Alabama has.
Yep.
But Georgia has one of the best wins. If you're going to put Notre Dame at number 3, then Georgia has the best win this year.
Yes, even though they only beat them by
It was
1,
on the
but
road.
still, Georgia having a great year. I was kind of surprised with them being up as high as they were to begin the season, the top 15. In fact, I was kind of upset about it. So I'm like, what the hell are they going to do? But they've had a hell of a good year. So it's been fun. As much as I hate the SEC, if I'm going to pick a team to root for in the SEC, Georgia's not a bad team to root for. And
Right.
really, they've been doing what they need to put themselves at number 1. We'll talk about some scenarios here in a little bit, but let's talk about who Georgia has coming up. So they got South Carolina. That should be a win. They got Auburn. It's probably their toughest game.
Right.
Kentucky, and then Georgia Tech. Now,
Kentucky's playing better this year, and Georgia Tech's always a
Georgia Tech is a crapshoot
different
every year
game.
because you have to prepare for them differently. They haven't been as dangerous this year as they have been in the past.
right.
So you look at that, you got to think, can Georgia Tech pull off an upset? I don't think so this year, but Auburn's a team they got to look out for. Auburn is still a scary team. Stidham at the helm and the quarterback. Stidham's a good quarterback. He's had a very good year. Even in their losses, he's had a very good year. So I think that's the game Georgia's got to watch out
Well, and
for.
that'll be a good comparison to see. I know Clemson played them early, but,
Yep.
like opponents, that's one of the criteria, I believe.
Well,
for
and
the
Alabama
committee is
plays them in the
common
Iron Bowl.
opponents. Right,
Very end of the
exactly.
year.
Exactly.
So, number 1, number 2, Georgia, Alabama, you're looking at your SEC championship game right there. Unless something really crazy goes wrong. Alabama at number 2.
I mean, even if one of those teams loses, even if they both lost, they're not going to lose the West and they're not going to lose the East
No.
because they'd have to lose 2 games.
Yeah.
So that is the SEC championship, I think, already.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, unless they lose 2 games. So, LSU is playing Bama this weekend. Then you got Mississippi State, you got Mercer, and you got Auburn in the Iron Bowl, the usual Iron Bowl. So, LSU this weekend for Alabama. LSU's kind of been sneaky this year. They're not that good, but they've had some good games.
And they beat up Auburn.
They beat up
Well,
Auburn.
they didn't beat up Auburn, but they beat Auburn.
They beat them. And so, yeah, they beat them up. They beat them. And then you got Auburn. So they got 2 ranked opponents left on their schedule, while Georgia only has 1. But those games are really going to mean a lot as far as potential where they end up in the playoff. Here's what's going to happen no matter what. Number 1, number 2, Georgia, Bama. I don't see a way of them getting kicked out of the playoff, either one of them. Even if they have 1 loss prior to the SEC championship, one of them's knocked out because they're going to have 2 losses.
If they were to lose.
If they were to lose. I don't see either of them losing and getting knocked out of the playoff. I think
The way I
they might
see
not be
it-
1 and 2, but they're going to be in the playoff.
No, the way I see it is they'll be 1 and 2, and when they play each other in the SEC championship, the loser will either be 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Because what'll happen is whoever's number 2, if they lose, they probably won't even drop a spot, but they might drop to 3.
Yeah.
If somebody's in 1, if 1 loses, if 2 beats 1, then they'll just flip-flop.
Yeah.
Because what they'll do is they're not going to match them up right away again to play in the semifinal.
No.
They're going to match them up 1 and 3 or
In hopes they get in the
whatever,
final, yeah.
1 and 2, so that then they could have a rematch for the final.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. That's one scenario for Bama and Georgia, but like we said, either way, we don't think there's a chance that they both don't make it, or even one of them. I think they're both in. It's early. We've still got 4 games left, but looking at their schedule, I think they're both in.
Barring a pretty serious injury or, extremely crazy, unlucky, multiple bounce game.
Yeah, we'll see. Number 3, Notre Dame. So, Notre Dame fans are happy right now. They're really happy. So, Notre Dame jumped up. They were at number 9, and then playoff rankings come out, and they jump all the way up to number 3. So, really a good time for Notre Dame fans to be happy about this year because they're undefeated. They have a great quarterback. They have a really good running back who potentially could win the Heisman
Really
this
good
year.
offensive line, which I think is one of the big reasons they're rushing.
And their defense has been solid.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a Notre Dame team who they have a goal. Look at Kelly. Last year, where was he sitting?
They were 4-8. He was on the hot seat for
His
sure.
ass was on fire on that hot seat. And not the kind of toilet that warms up to make your butt feel good. His ass was on fire. And he's about to go out from Notre Dame, and they're about to get a new coach. He turns his team around. He fires them up. They get Wimbush at the quarterback spot. Adams is healthy and having a really good year. And look where it's put him. It's put him in almost top dog. They're at number 3 now. I mean, for Notre Dame, I hate Notre Dame, but fantastic for Notre Dame. And I don't hate to see them being successful again, because when Notre Dame's in the picture, they screw so many things up in the playoff picture.
True.
They screw so many things up in college football in general because they don't have a conference.
You know, it is because basically since the playoffs started, I know maybe there's been a year or two where when the playoff rankings come out, they're, top 10 or top 15. But there hasn't been a time yet where they've been in the top 4, I don't think, since the playoffs started.
Was it when they got their shit kicked by Alabama? Was that before the playoffs?
Yeah,
right?
that was before playoffs.
That was like 8 years ago.
So,
I don't even know, a long time ago. Yeah, I mean, so
just
Notre
them
Dame,
being in there is causing, and then on top of that, you throw Alabama and Georgia, both with a high percentage, percentage chance of making it to the playoff. That's messing up a lot of things right now.
Oh yeah. So we got Notre Dame's got Wake Forest this weekend. They got Miami. So Miami and Stanford are the 2 toughest games.
They have
Miami,
to play at Miami and at Stanford.
So really, Notre Dame's got a tough road.
Notre Dame's, they've played USC, they played NC State, they played these teams at home.
Yep.
Now, and they played Georgia at home. The road games that they've had, I don't know that they've been that tough. So, that could be a factor.
You got to look at Miami. As much as I don't think Miami's I don't think Miami's that good.
They're just not that good.
But they're sitting at number 10. They're undefeated. They want to make a statement.
But yeah, they're pissed.
Hey, we're top dog in the ACC.
Hey, we're the only undefeated team in the ACC, and you put us at 10.
Give us some love. So what are they going to do when Notre Dame comes to town? And that's my question. I still think Notre Dame wins that game, and I don't think they have struggled with Miami. But I think it's still a game to watch out for, because you just never know in college football what can happen.
Right.
And like you said, Miami's got a chip on their shoulder. Right now they're saying, shit, we're at 10? What the hell?
Right.
And Stanford. Stanford's had a really bad year for Stanford.
They've lost a couple early. They've played better.
But they got Bryce Love in the backfield, having a hell of a good year. I think Stanford's going to want to make a statement too. Hey, let's go out on top at the end of the season. So Notre Dame's going to have to step up in a big way. They're going to have all cylinders pushing to win those 2 road games. But once again, they win those 2 road games, they solidify themselves once again as a top dog in college football, like they want to be, and like Kelly wants them to be,
right,
and like Pootie wants them to be, and Tim wants them to be.
I know that it's tough to play Navy too. Different style.
Yep.
And Wake Forest has had a better year this year. So I mean, yes, if they win all these games, these teams on their schedule are good. They're having better, more successful seasons than they normally have.
At one point, Notre Dame was like 4th or 5th toughest schedule for remaining games. That was like 2 weeks ago. You look at the games now and who's got the toughest schedule. I mean, they might be 1 or 2 for the toughest schedule. We get to the Big 12, we may have a different story, but I still think the Big 12 is suspect at best. But Notre Dame, tough schedule ahead. They can do it though. That's the thing. They've shown.
It will be interesting to see if they win out. And then that same thing happens with Alabama and Georgia we were talking about. But then you also get maybe a 1-loss Clemson conference champ. Or maybe an undefeated... No, it wouldn't be undefeated Miami because they play Notre Dame.
A 1-loss TCU.
You have a 1-loss Miami conference champ. Notre Dame would beat them, so Miami would be out.
Yep.
1-loss TCU. A 1-loss Oklahoma.
Yeah.
As conference champ, a 1-loss Oklahoma State is a conference champ.
Well, and so let's talk about Clemson real quick.
Undefeated Wisconsin.
Let's talk about Clemson, and then we'll talk about scenarios once we're on the top 10. And
sorry.
We'll stop babbling too much. But Clemson has NC State this weekend. They got Florida State. They got Citadel, South Carolina. So their biggest game is NC State. So the fact that Clemson's number 4...
Yeah, we were not very happy about that last night.
I mean, that blows my mind. And so is it because they won the championship last year? I don't even know. I mean,
they won last year, and their quarterback from this year was hurt in their only loss. But that doesn't matter. Everybody else has players that get injured. So what? They lost to Syracuse. If you want to talk about who has the next best loss, it's Penn State.
Yeah.
Now,
and
Ohio State beat them,
7.
and Oklahoma beat them. That's why it is the way it is.
Yeah.
I still think that Clemson should probably be at 7, and if you want to do that way, you'd go Oklahoma, Ohio State, Penn State.
Yep.
Maybe have Ohio State and Oklahoma flipped. However you want to do that.
And even Wisconsin, and where do you put them then? So you look at Clemson, NC State. Clemson hasn't done anything. They beat Auburn. That's their one big staple win on the season, which if you want to call it a staple win, sure, Auburn's got 2 losses. So I just don't see it as a staple win in their season. It's a ranked opponent, but their only other ranked opponent this year is going to be NC State. So NC State is the only thing that's stopping Clemson from staying in the top 4 before the ACC championship game. Florida State, no. Citadel, no. South Carolina, no. More than likely, no. I should say, not no.
How about Florida State getting blown out by Boston College too? Sorry, I know that's.
Florida State sucks this year. Jimbo Fisher, man, you are. Woo.
Anyway.
All right, who we got next? Oklahoma. They got Oklahoma State this weekend.
They've got yes, that'd be a great game.
Their next 3 of their 4 games, they might have one of the toughest schedules. 3 of their 4 games. Oklahoma State, at Oklahoma State. They got TCU, KU. So throw that game out of the table. They really don't have 3 games
in
left.
West Virginia, they've played pretty
Virginia.
tight. They played tight with TCU. They played tight with Oklahoma State.
Yep.
They haven't been able to come out victorious in those games,
Yep.
but
I think this weekend is going to be a telling tale for Oklahoma because I think, I've said it before, Mason Rudolph is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield.
I would love to see Oklahoma State beat them this weekend.
It's at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State wants...
I'm curious.
They want to have a shot.
Yeah. I'm curious to see if they beat Oklahoma this weekend, where do they put Oklahoma and where do they put Oklahoma State? Because they're at 5-11. Are they going to drop? Is Oklahoma State going to move that far up? Is Oklahoma going to drop that far down? Obviously, they're going to have them ranked ahead. But
Oklahoma's going to have 2 losses. I mean, that's the thing, too.
But then if Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State, that's kind of a better win than Clemson.
It is.
So, I mean, NC State is ranked 20th, but yeah, I don't know. We'll just have to see.
It's going to be interesting. So, Ohio State, they got Iowa this weekend, Michigan State, Illinois, and Michigan.
So they've got a pretty decent rest of the... They got Iowa, Michigan State, and Michigan.
Yeah.
I know that neither one of those teams is having a great season now. They've got a couple losses.
They go to Kinnick Stadium this weekend.
Yeah, and that would be tough.
That game, I'm looking forward to that game.
If it was a night game, I would maybe say I thought Iowa was going to win.
I'd still watch out because you're looking, and we talked about it earlier before the show. You got JT Barrett, who is very poised in the pocket. He does well with running. He does well with running the ball. If you watch the Penn State game this last weekend, his strength was staying in the pocket and throwing to a wide open receiver.
He was.
Penn State in the second half, they didn't cover the receivers well. They left them wide open in the middle of the field.
Right.
Iowa's a different defense than Penn State. I'm not saying they're better, but they're going to play them tougher on defense. And if they put pressure on JT Barrett, I guarantee he's going to throw at least 2 interceptions in that game if they can get pressure on him because he makes mistakes under pressure.
What they're going to have to do is they're going to have to get pressure on him and not let him escape out of it because then he can run.
Yeah.
And that's how they beat teams.
Yep. And
once they do that, then they back off a little bit and he's able to throw.
Yep.
He was 33-39 against Penn State. That's a pretty good day for
good
anybody.
Day. And 13-13 in the fourth quarter
against the number 2 team.
So, and as much as I hate the 10th year senior, not hate him. I don't like him. I don't think he doesn't come off as a strong leader, but he probably is a good leader. And it's more Ohio State than it is him as a person and is him as a quarterback because he's good. But like I said, if you put pressure on him, he's going to struggle. And we've seen that before. We saw it earlier in the year when they almost lost a couple games. Oklahoma put pressure on him. He made some mistakes in that game. So, just saying, watch out for Iowa.
I do think Ohio State is a different team than they were against Oklahoma.
Yeah, and Michigan State's defense is actually pretty darn good too. So,
right.
And Michigan thrives on defense. So they play good defenses. It might be a different ball game. Might have some tight games. Penn State, they lost this last weekend. They're going to go in and play Michigan State, Rutgers. Then they got Nebraska and they got Maryland. So you're looking at really one tough game.
Yeah, and it's too bad too because if Penn State and Michigan State both would have won last week,
Now,
this would be a very highly ranked game. Right
has Nebraska lost to Penn State?
Not since we joined the Big
Nope.
Ten.
So I can't say Nebraska's gonna win that game. I can't. I want it. I want it so bad.
You said at the beginning of the year that we were going to beat Ohio State, and they beat us by 42.
Shut
at home.
up. But I didn't say anything about Penn State. I didn't know
know.
Penn State would be ranked this high. I can't say we're gonna beat them. I hope because of our audience, the fans at home. I hope we bring the pressure. I hope we bring the heat, and we can put up a strong. Even though I like Penn State this year,
We play at Penn State.
shit. So we're not going to win that game. Penn State's going to destroy us. I hope we at least go in and have.
Yeah,
a decent game.
if we can win a couple games, if we can win this weekend and win next weekend, go to Penn State. Already a bowl game in hand.
It's never
a little bit of confidence.
It's never over before it starts. But at Penn State, they're having a hell of a year. So we'll get to them here right now. So to Penn State, Barkley, McSorley, they're still a good 1-2 combo.
Yeah, they played 2.5 quarters against Ohio State. They thought they had the game won.
Yep. Well, I think that's offense coordinator too. So I thought the play calling was garbage. They went away from the strength, and even when they were stopped once on the rush game, it's like, okay, we can't run anymore. One thing I was shocked about in that game, McSorley. They did not want him running in that game.
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that either.
There was a pass that was incomplete, and I'm watching the game with my dad, and there was a pass that was incomplete downfield. I think they were inside the 40-yard line at least of Ohio State. McSorley had about 10, 12 yards to run, but he didn't. He threw it before the line of scrimmage, and he had the first down easy.
Yeah,
Or no, he completed the pass. He completed it for a first down. But I looked at my dad, and I'm like,
Okay, I think I remember exactly what you're talking about.
why is he not running?
Yeah, I don't know.
And I think that could have been a big difference in the game if they would have let him run the ball. But I think that was part of their game plan. They didn't want him getting hurt.
Ohio State's game plan was to shut down Barkley, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
He had that kickoff return to start the game. He had like a 36-yard rushing touchdown. And he only had like 56 yards in the game.
They didn't want McSorley to run either, but he didn't try.
Yeah.
When he had the opportunity. So I think the apprehension there from the coaching staff to not want him to run, and they probably told him not to run. He only had a couple of good rushes in the game, so I think that was a big difference. Can't live in the past. TCU at number 8. So TCU, they were at 4. They just lost to Iowa State. Iowa State jumped up to 15, and Iowa State's a good team this year. TCU with their first loss this season, they only dropped technically 4 spots from the AP poll number 4 to now the playoff poll number 8. The reason why they're still at number 8 is because they have a chance to win that Big 12. They have one loss.
They do.
They got Texas this weekend. Then they got Oklahoma, Texas Tech, and Baylor. So the next 2 games are going to make a big difference for them.
Oh, for sure. And even, Texas Tech, they're hit and miss, but
yeah. But
Texas is playing tough. And
Texas
Oklahoma,
has had a good second
obviously,
half.
It's going to be pretty good.
It's going to be fun. Really, the next 4 weeks of college football are going to be insane.
The Big 12, if they don't play their way out of the playoff during the season, somebody's going to knock the other one off in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. TCU is still a good team, but they really control their own destiny here. They have to win out to have a shot.
And they had a shot in that Iowa State game. They probably could have won that, but
we'll talk scenarios again here in a second. So Wisconsin's at number 9, so they're probably a little pissed. They're undefeated, 8-0.
They have not played a ranked team.
They haven't played a ranked team. So they play Indiana, they play Iowa, they play Michigan, Minnesota. So they have 0 ranked teams left on their schedule, which means, I'm sorry, Wisconsin, even if Wisconsin plays in the Big Ten championship, let's say hypothetically they win the Big Ten championship.
Okay, go ahead.
Georgia, Bama, Notre Dame, they win out. Bama and Notre Dame Bama and Georgia are both going to be in. Notre Dame wins out, they're in. Who do you put in that Big Ten spot if the Big Ten champ is an undefeated Wisconsin champion who did not play a single ranked team until the Big Ten championship?
Okay.
I'm jumping ahead for scenarios. There's a lot of what ifs.
I know. But if at that point, let's say Ohio State is 4 or 5, and they beat them, and they go undefeated, win the Big Ten, beating 5th ranked, 4th ranked, 6th ranked Ohio State. Isn't that a better win? You go undefeated and you have a better win than a 1-loss Notre Dame, than a 1-loss Clemson?
But what about a 1-loss Miami, an ACC champ,
True.
and their 1 loss is to Notre Dame, who's in the playoff? At number 3, potentially number 2. You just don't know how they're going to play out. Or TCU, Big 12 champ, who takes out OU at number 5.
It never, since the playoffs started, there's never been, I guess maybe there was that first year. Yeah, I guess there was. When you went in to see who the Final Four was, and it was like a complete shock. I guess TCU was technically ranked like 3rd, and they dropped to 6 or something.
Yeah. They left the Big 12 out.
It was because Ohio State won the Big Ten championship 58-0.
And they had a loss against undefeated TCU, whatever it was.
And
then it turned into that we should have 8 teams in the playoff. Yada. Listen, I'm telling this is.
I'm just kind of hoping that it's just a whole bunch of 1-loss teams, and you say who's the best 1-loss.
And so this is why I'm still not a fan of an 8-team playoff. There's a lot of reasons why, but the top 2 reasons why. For one, you have to play 3 games now. The 3rd game would be the championship game.
Right.
So you're adding 3 more games to their schedule, for one. 2, there's a lot of good teams out there, but I think this is why it's fun. When you only have 4 teams that can get in, I think it pushes that much harder for those teams to do that much better. I mean, you look at our top 10. There's not a single bad team in the top 10.
Even if you did did 8 right now, how good would those matchups be? Mm-hmm. You have Georgia, TCU. You have Alabama, Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State.
Yeah.
Clemson and Oklahoma. That would be incredible.
It'd be incredible, but holy shit, that's a lot of games to get to the championship game.
And then you could also say, oh well, we lost it. Well, we just need to win our conference championship
mm-hmm.
because what I've always said is if they have an 8-team playoff, what I think it should be is all 5 power conferences get a team, and then you get 3 at large.
Yeah. And then, like, even this year, let's say you got 8 teams. So if we take our top 8 right now, you still got Wisconsin, Miami on the outside looking in. Or you got another 1-loss team on the outside looking in who maybe their 1 loss is in the championship game of their conference. You leave them out. Then you got a lot of pissed off people. It's never going to change, and people are going to want more and more and more. You keep it at 4 because that's a good number, and it's challenging. It's not fun. Right. That's why at Clemson, we're surprised by it, but at the same time, it's the first rankings. So this doesn't matter yet because there's a lot of scenarios that can play out.
If you did it like I said, you'd have Georgia, just hypothetically.
Yeah.
Georgia, let's say they win the conference championship. Clemson is the highest one right now. Kershaw's in, by the way.
Yep.
Oklahoma, you'd have Ohio State. Pac-12, I don't even know. Washington's 12.
Washington's 12. I mean, that's...
but then at large would be Alabama, Notre Dame, and Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be pretty good as well. But
I don't think it's ever going to happen. People are going to beg for it and beg for it and beg for it. There's always
it's
somebody
just
who's going to be mad.
It just depends on. Honestly, it probably depends more upon like TV rating, like TV and like ticket sales, because you're going to have all these neutral site games unless if you did the 8-team playoff, the teams got home field advantage for a game.
Yeah,
1 through 4 gets home field or something like that.
So,
and even then, it's going to be 5 should be 4 and 4 should be 5. Whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm not even going to get into that.
So let's talk about a couple different scenarios that can happen here. So let's talk about Georgia and Alabama. We both think they solidified their spot in the playoff no matter what because they're both going to go undefeated, play each other in the SEC championship. One of them's going to lose, but a 1-loss team in the top 2 is not going to drop out of the top 4, even if there's another conference champ that people want in the game. I think they're both still in. Notre Dame's got to win out. They have 1 loss, they're not in. Or they have a second loss.
I still think they need to win out, and I think that they still might need a little bit of help.
They do need help.
Because some of these undefeated or 1-loss teams, if they win a conference championship, they have 1 loss just like you do. I know you have the best loss, but there's all different kinds of factors. I think they might need a little bit of help still.
Let's say they beat Miami. Miami's got to beat Virginia Tech.
Miami's got to beat Clemson.
Yeah.
They've got to win out and beat Clemson.
Stanford's got to beat Washington. I mean, They got to win the games that they have left. Those teams, Miami and Stanford, have to win some games down the road. Their last 4.
Or they need a 2-loss team to win a conference championship or something. An Iowa State to end up going and winning the Big 12.
I still think a 1-loss Notre Dame to a potentially 1-loss Georgia still gets it. Because that Georgia loss is going to be to Bama if that happens. And the Notre Dame loss is going to be to Georgia, who lost to potentially the number 1 team in the country. So I think Notre Dame, if they run the table, and we've said this before,
they have a really
they
good
control their
shot.
own destiny. I think they're in. Because the other 1 loss, let's say Oklahoma, for instance, Iowa State. If Iowa State loses this weekend,
well, even
then
so,
you play some other.
if
there's so many different scenarios. It's so hard.
I mean, if Oklahoma wins the Big 12 championship, I mean, they've got to win over Ohio State, who could be the Big 10 champ.
Well, potentially a win over Ohio State, Oklahoma State, and TCU.
It's just there's
and
too
West
much.
Virginia.
It's the first rankings. There's just too many possibilities still. Talk to me in 3 weeks.
Yeah, but I think Clemson. I don't think Clemson's going to stay there. I think they're going to lose to NC State. Even if they don't, I think Clemson will get knocked out of the top 4, and they should because they lost to an unranked Syracuse.
And these other teams behind them are going to play way better games.
Their schedule is
they
harder.
should jump them.
Their schedule's harder.
They're going to have close game with somebody here,
yeah.
and somebody's going to blow somebody out and jump them.
Well, in Clemson's first 3 games, they were close. I mean, they struggled in the first 3 games.
But they were close.
And they almost lost a couple of those games. So Clemson's not the same team they were last year. And the fact that they're number 4, I think, is an absolute joke because their schedule has not been hard. You got other teams that much tougher schedules. I would even put Clemson as far as number 10.
I know, me too.
Move all these other teams,
I think
especially
all
Wisconsin,
of these
Miami.
other teams between 5 and 10 are. Well, between
Clemson,
5 and 8, they're all better.
So let's go through them. Clemson's loss was to
Syracuse.
Unranked Syracuse. Oklahoma's loss was to a ranked Iowa State at 15.
They weren't ranked at the time, but they are ranked 15th now.
They are now. Ohio State's loss was to Oklahoma. Penn State's loss was to Ohio State. TCU lost to Iowa State.
Iowa State team.
Wisconsin, Miami are undefeated. So I think you don't have a choice but to put them at number 10. I was shocked that they were number 4.
I thought they'd be about 7. But even so.
Yeah, it's interesting just to see. But Wisconsin, I think, is the biggest question for the Big Ten because, once again, they go to the Big Ten championship, let's say. They win out.
That could be one of the most interesting things. If Wisconsin won out and won the Big Ten, you could not leave an undefeated conference champ out, could you? When there's no other undefeated conference champs other than 1 or 2?
I think the streets might be red with people's blood. I don't think it would end well.
Trident.
I really I threw a trident. Brick killed a guy.
I saw that. Brick killed a guy. No. What I think would be interesting is to see what the rankings would be like if it was like the computers like it was when the BCS.
Yeah.
Because they're real big about that was always like a big undefeated thing, especially if you were in a power conference.
The computer might blow up this year.
They would probably have...
Because Notre Dame wouldn't make it.
Well,
they don't have a conference.
Wisconsin's 3 in the AP. That is kind of...
Yeah.
They're 3 in the AP.
Well, and so, okay, so let's talk about the AP for a second. I'm going to go back to this. So the AP cracks me up because my initial
sorry, Ohio State was 3.
So my initial thought on the
4.
AP after Ohio State beat Penn State was it was going to be Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Notre Dame. And I thought Penn State would be either at 6 or be at 5 with Notre Dame right behind them. And that's exactly what the AP came out. But then the playoff picture looks totally different. And I was really surprised. And Clemson is just so far out there. I just don't get it. And then you got a team like Central Florida, who is undefeated, and they're sitting at 18 in the playoff, but 15 in the AP. So the AP is usually pretty dead on, and now they're kind of way off.
Yeah.
Not way off, but they're off from what the playoff picture shows. There's just so many different things. Penn State can still win the East. They need some help. They need help from...
Somebody's going to have to...
Someone's going to have to beat them.
Ohio State's going to have to lose twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, remember what happened last year. Granted, Penn State had a non-conference loss to Pitt. But they beat Ohio State. Ohio State doesn't make it to the Big Ten championship. Penn State does. Penn State wins, and Ohio State still goes.
Yeah.
It
Which
wouldn't
was
happen that way
kind
this
of
year.
messed up, but
Actually, technically, that could still happen if Ohio State ended up losing to Michigan or something like that. I don't know.
you guys having fun yet? I mean, this is
just
this
insane.
is
I don't
where it's
even
at
know.
because this is where this is why I love college football.
Yeah.
It's not the NFL. The NFL to me is just kind of boring.
Right.
I mean, I like the Cowboys. I like my boys. I do, but you don't get the excitement in that.
No.
In the NFL,
If you lose
have
a
to-
game, you're just like, all right, well, we have 15 more, and we just need to go 8-8 and make the playoffs.
Yeah, you can go, you lose 8 games and still make it. In
You
college
can be
football,
7-9 and make the playoffs if your division's bad enough.
In college football, you lose one game, you're worried about not making the playoff. I mean,
Literally not making the playoffs.
with one loss, or you could be a Central Florida team who has no shot because guess what? You're not a Power 5 school.
Even though you're the best team in Florida.
Yeah, and you scored 73 points. You scored 60 points consecutively. I mean, you scored so many points, but you don't have a chance at making it, and you know it. But guess what? You still go out there and you still score 70 points in a game to make a statement. Yet you're going to get a great bowl game, but you're not going to make it the playoff ever. Sorry. So it gets a little fuzzy here the next 4 weeks. So hang with us because we're going to be watching. We're getting excited. I'm getting excited right now because there's
What's up this week?
there's so much things, so many things. Sorry, there's so many. I just get so excited talking about it. And my acting GM at my work, it's funny because he's an Ohio State fan. I wrote on his board before the Penn State game. I probably shouldn't have done this. I put a picture of McSorley from last year when Penn State beat him, and I said, "It's hard to be the best when you're." To be the best, you have to be in the driver's seat, not in the rearview mirror. And the picture showed McSorley from last year running away from the defender.
I
To the
remember
end
exactly
zone.
what you're talking about.
And he didn't know who wrote it for the longest time. And I'm the biggest college football fan in that building, so I was kind of surprised he didn't think it was me. But I gave him a hard time, and it was kind of fun. And then he gave me shit after they won. But games this upcoming, so. Let's talk about the games upcoming this week. Then we'll talk about Nebraska real quick. We'll make it quick. Get you guys to watch in the baseball game.
Even
which-
though it's 5-0.
5-0 Houston, but you know that game's never over.
No out.
So number 7 Penn State at number 24 Michigan State. That game is still intriguing because Michigan State's still a good team.
And they both only have one conference loss. So, I mean,
What's Penn State gonna do after losing?
Michigan State could honestly lose this game or could win this game, beat Ohio State, and win the East. It's still possible.
Yeah, that scenario is not impossible. It's going to be exciting. Wisconsin, number 9, playing at Indiana. Now that game to me is intriguing because Indiana still, if they're playing at home for one, they have a good offense. They
were beating Ohio State at halftime. First game of the season. They went to overtime with Michigan.
Yep.
So
I'm going to say it. They have the best wide receiver in college football in Simi Cobbs. The best.
He's awesome.
He is going to be in the NFL next year. There's no way that, I don't know if he's a senior, but if he's not a senior, he's not going to stay. Someone is going to want to pick him up, and he will leave early for the NFL because he's going to be successful. And it's a shame because he doesn't have a great quarterback to give him the ball.
I know.
But
Neither one of them are that great.
But look out for Indiana. Their freshman quarterback is actually better than Legau or whatever his name is. Lego, yeah. Number 4 Clemson at number 20 NC State. Possibly, the second best matchup of the weekend.
And NC State went in and should have. I know it could have, should have, would have, but they should have beaten Clemson last year. There's actually a story on ESPN right now about the kicker because I think he missed 2 field goals, including one 30-yarder right down the middle to go to overtime, and then they lost.
Just like Louisville should have beaten Clemson, but the guy, for some reason, went out of bounds. I don't get it.
Hey, Clemson ended up winning the national championship.
I'll never forget that.
Struck out.
Dodgers struck out again. 16 strikeouts. Holy cow. And then you got Ohio State number 6 at Iowa. So that game,
these games are at 2:32. It sucks.
Yeah, the ones you're gonna need 6 TVs.
I had 3 going last week.
Or go to B-Dubs, go to a bar, watch it. But Ohio State at Iowa, I had somebody ask me, they're like, I got an offer to go to the Iowa game this weekend for $50. What do you think? He goes, you're my manager. Should I go? And I told him, I go, Cole, yeah, $50. I was going to pay $80. Or I wasn't going to. Someone asked me to pay $80 to go watch Ohio State, Nebraska. I said, hell no, I don't want to get our ass kicked. I told him to go. I told him to go because I think Iowa is going to give them a better matchup as it is against than Nebraska did. I think Iowa's defense is a lot better, and they're going to put up a good matchup. So watch out for that game.
They gave Penn State a heck of a run early.
Yep. Oklahoma, number 5, and number 11, Oklahoma State. The number 1 game to watch this weekend. Bedlam.
Go Oak State.
Go Oklahoma State. Stillwater. That place is going to be rocking. There's been a lot of heartache at Oklahoma State over the years against Oklahoma, especially when they play them at home. A lot of losses where maybe they shouldn't have lost. So, what's
it's an elimination game.
What's Mullet going to do here?
Mullet Man?
Mullet Man's got to get him prepared. Gunny's got
some tricks up his sleeve.
Gunny's going to have to pull out all the stops. Mason Rudolph, once again, is going to be the story of that game. He's going to play a better game than Baker Mayfield.
If he does, then they could win this game.
I do not want to hear one more time on a broadcast, Baker Mayfield does it again when he throws a 6-yard pass and a guy runs 50 yards for a touchdown. That's not Baker Mayfield. He found a wide open receiver. Shut your mouth.
Or the guy, he threw to somebody and then the guy made some cuts and made some moves and scored.
Yeah. That's not on the quarterback. I still think quarterbacks need to get their yards taken away and the receivers need to get all the yards. Quarterback did not throw for 350 yards. He threw for about 120.
Right.
So, I don't know. That off subject. Number 19, LSU. At number 2, Bama. The only reason why this game is intriguing at all is because it's still LSU at Bama. You got 2 ranked teams. This is actually big for Bama because they need to play that game. They need to play it well. They need to kick the shit out of LSU.
I think they will because Saban, I don't know, he came out and said that the playoff rankings are stupid or whatever. I don't care.
That's because they're not number 1.
No, he said that, but this was before.
And he said that for years.
Now they have a little bit of motivation. Mm-hmm. When you're just number 1 all the time, what motivation do you have?
Well, he said that for years, but as soon as the time when they go outside the top 4, top 5 in the rankings, he's going to be all about the rankings. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So I don't like Saban, but over the last couple of years, I've liked him a little bit more because he gives so much shit to the media.
I know, it's really
and he's
funny.
entertaining to watch. And I think he's a good coach. I think he's an asshole, but I think he's a really good coach. I think he cares about the kids and cares whatever. But Bama, LSU, I think Bama's going to win it.
Bama's going to be pissed and they're going to kill him.
I'm still going to tell you, that game's one to watch. It's at Bama, so I think that gives them a big edge. Now, Texas at TCU. Another game to watch out for because Texas, one of those teams that's really been up and down this year, but when they're up, they're up.
I mean, they played Oklahoma tight. They played Oklahoma State tight. They beat Iowa State.
Yeah. They beat
which
Iowa
at
State.
the time wasn't really anything because neither team was ranked, and it was like a Thursday night game. It's like 17-7. It was garbage. And I think that was at Iowa State when they beat them. So,
TCU just lost to them. So. And Texas is. I hate to say it, but Texas is a good team. My dad kind of laughed at me when I said that, but Texas, watch out. They have some skilled players, and their defense got better throughout the year. But they're going to only get better after this year, and that to me, that's kind of scary for the Big 12.
Big 12.
The Big 12 should be scared about Texas over the next couple of years.
Big 12 will be pretty decent.
I'm not giving all the credit to Tom Herman because these aren't a lot of his recruits, but the young guys that are on that team.
He's turning the recruits into something.
Good job, Charlie Strong. South Florida lost this weekend, by the way. So first loss. Last game to talk about, number 13 Virginia Tech and number 10 Miami. Once again, Miami needs to prove to the entire country and the playoff committee that hey. We're worth it.
I mean, I think the only reason Wisconsin and Miami are in the top 10, yes, they're undefeated. The reason that they're back there is because nobody's really thinking anything of them. And in fact, Virginia Tech going on the road is a favorite against a top 10 undefeated Miami. That's how much credit they're giving Miami.
That tells you a lot.
So I think Virginia Tech wins the game. because I've watched Miami these last couple weeks. They just don't look that good.
There's no baller on their team that you're going to say, like, oh, he's going to be a difference maker out there. I just don't see it.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe Miami figures something out.
I'll take that back. I can't remember his name because I've only watched a couple stints of Miami this year, but their quarterback actually is not that bad.
No, he's pretty decent.
Their quarterback's pretty decent.
Maybe they turn things around. Hey, they say, hey, no one's giving us credit. We're going to go back-to-back weeks against Virginia Tech and Notre Dame, and we want to make a statement. Maybe they do that. We'll see.
Yeah, so they got a chip on their shoulder just like Wisconsin does. So this is going to be a fun weekend because this can tell us a lot about the playoff picture too. Because after this weekend, with the 3 remaining weeks, there's only a couple teams that have a game or two that are going to be tough for them, or should be tough for them, before the end of the year and the bowl games and the playoffs. And so this weekend is really telling for teams like Penn State, Michigan State, for teams like Wisconsin, for teams like Clemson and NC State. This is going to be big, and I'm excited for it. So get your TVs ready, go to the bar, get some wings, whatever you got to do, so you can watch all these 2:30 games. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Nebraska.
Okay.
So Nebraska, we won. It was a stressful game.
It was really tough to watch.
It was tough. And if you're not a fan of either team, it might have been fun to watch. But being a hardcore Husker fan, the offenses sucked. I mean, they were awful in that first half, especially in the first half.
Right.
Neither offense was clicking. One thing that Nebraska's defense actually played pretty well. Purdue, I don't think they did all that they probably could have in that first half to score some points on us because everybody that's watched Nebraska and knows what we've done this year, our weakness is our defense. Our biggest weakness, so offense isn't that great either, but our biggest weakness is our defense. You can throw on them. And at times you can run pretty well on them as well, running that 3-4 defense because we haven't figured that out yet. Diaco says that we are going to be the best defense in the country shortly. That's what he said that in an interview, that Nebraska will have the best defense. I really hope so. But
that would be fantastic.
Let's face it, right now we're not. So Purdue's had some good games this year. They don't have a high-powered offense, but they have enough offense that could have done some damage to us. And they didn't.
They're better than they were when they beat us a couple years ago, and they scored 55 points against us.
Yeah. So
they're better this year. So
Nebraska's defense, I give them credit because they stepped up in that game. They did what they had to do. One thing I noticed on the defense that we haven't seen in previous weeks, those swing passes and screens, holy cow, man, we covered them.
Right, we actually had guys get out there.
Did you watch our defenders, our safeties and corners? We didn't play 8 to 10 yards off the receivers the entire game.
There was once or twice that I got a little upset, but I mean, they weren't doing it. They weren't doing it.
I saw
that much.
Yeah, there's more often where they were on the receiver than they were off the receiver.
We did get lucky. Purdue had some drops.
Oh God.
They had one guy right down the middle of the field that walked in for a touchdown.
3 drops?
They had at least 3 drops, and they were in pretty big spots. Yeah. And they ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive anyway. But
which is kind of funny. Change the subject real quick. Ohio State also had like 3 wide open drops that would have been scores. JT Barrett could have had a better passing percentage, but anyways.
We also had some drops, which apparently we like to do because it's happened every freaking game. Stanley Morgan and DeMornay Pearsonell hit you right between the 1 and the 5 at the 1 yard line.
And he had one that was up here just right above his head that went through his hands.
And then he had 2, and that might have been Stanley actually.
No, Pearsonell did it
too. Stanley had 2, that was a good game. Pearsonell had 2 unbelievable jump up catches that were probably 20% completion percentage on those, and he was calling them down. And you can't hit one that hits you in between.
Yeah. Well, and let's look at our quarterback. Taylor Lee actually had a good game.
Yeah, he was.
I mean, he didn't throw any interceptions again. That's a good game.
Right. He's at 10 interceptions now for 4 games.
And on that last drive where we won the game, he was 100%, 5 for 5 on that last drive. And guess what?
Maybe we should play hurry up.
Well, I don't think it's that. Part of it is the hurry up, but part of it is also the fact that they were playing prevent defense.
They were. They were.
But he hit the guys on the run towards the sideline. He made good passes. So, once again, Tanner Lee's not a terrible quarterback.
The offensive line is unbelievably bad. And two guys went down, Decker and Farmer. And I don't think Decker's out for the year, starting center. And Farmer's going to be out for significant time. Yeah. It's going to be rough again this week.
Yes, it is. So,
Bradley came in and played well.
Yeah, so...
apparently the running backs just don't really want it.
Zigbo started the game. Wilbon only was in a couple times.
They both had runs that... not really, because we only had 8 rushing yards in the first half. And I know that the offensive line was terrible, and they were getting the ball and getting hit. But it was almost like they didn't want the ball because they were like, oh, well, we can't block, so... Mm-hmm. I guess we're just going to be passing the rest of the season.
But Bradley found holes. He looked really good. He played extensively in that game, which is the first time he's played extensively in any game. Freshman, he looked good. Once again, excited about another running back. With him and Trey Bryant next year, holy crap. That's a good rush
Trey Bryant should get a medical red shirt.
We have to get away from the pass game, though, and really have a balanced offense or more rushing like we would want to. But we'll see. Northwestern this weekend, they always play us tough. I think we're going to win the game, but it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be another stressful game. Every game is going to be stressful unless we get blown out. But
we're going to win this game. It's probably going to be another come-from-behind win like it was this past weekend.
I'm going to disagree with you.
Okay.
We don't disagree often on this show, but I'm going to disagree with you. I think I don't know we're going to take the lead early, but I think we'll gain the lead before the first half is over, and I think we'll sustain the lead. There might be some ties, but I don't think we're ever going to go behind in the second half, and I think Nebraska is going to win the game. I don't think there's going to be a ton of scoring.
No.
Northwestern doesn't put up a lot of points, so you're going to see Northwestern play strong on the run. We're going to have to pass the ball because Northwestern's rush defense is solid. Right. So we're going to have to pass the ball. But when we get the run opportunities, Bradley, I think it should be in the game. Zigbo's going to be in the game when we're a short distance. We went for it on 4th and 1.
We did a fullback for the first time, fullback carry on 4th down, and we got it. And it was at like our 35-yard line. It was a crazy call.
I thought our second, third down.
The second 4th down was...
That was like a yard and a half.
I know.
And I thought it was a terrible call. Not a terrible call, but I thought the play call I thought was not well done and well drawn up. But I think we win this game. I think we may go behind at some point in the first half, but I don't think it's going to come behind in the second half. I think we're going to have the lead, maybe be tied, but I don't think we'll ever lose either a tie or a lead in that second half. Okay. Just my thought and opinion. So
can we talk about? I know, real quick.
Yeah, we can.
How many times do we? Every single week do we talk about? I don't think that Langsdorf's play calling all the time is bad because it's not. We have solid pass plays, run plays out there. 3rd down is incredible in a bad way.
Yeah.
You have 3rd and 3 to 3rd and 6.
Yep.
And I've said this so many times, but we did this where Tanner drops back and he throws maybe a 10-yard pass, but it's to the far end of the field, so it's like a 40-yard pass.
He's on the left hash.
You might as well just throw it down the field. Yeah. You're only going to end up gaining 10 yards. And it's not... Or when we threw to the end zone on 4th down, and we didn't get it on that second to last drive or whatever it was. If you're going to do that, you can't just have one guy go there and then throw him the ball.
Yeah. Well, and I also think, there was a pass interference in the end zone they didn't call, but we all know that doesn't decide the game. There was a lot of plays before that could have made a difference, but...
and there was one bad call I was talking to my dad, too, about last night.
The fake punt.
The fake punt. They effed that up big time.
Yep.
Because there is a rule in college football. I don't know if it's... My dad refed high school football. Some college, but he hasn't ref college forever, so he didn't know what the rule was for college now. But if you're the gunner on the punt, then you cannot be pass interfered with, because that guy that's covering you thinks the ball is just up in the air as a punt.
What the rule says is if you simulate a punt,
Yes.
So, which would be essentially...
Which is what they were doing. It wasn't fourth down and they dropped it back.
Essentially, it would be any pass. I mean, because a punt could be a line drive, too. So, it doesn't matter if you throw a bullet or if you throw it up in the air. If you simulate a pass to a receiver, or simulate a punt to a receiver as a pass, you cannot call pass interference.
Right.
Because, for all our guy knew, he was blocking.
That's exactly what.
So,
and I don't know, maybe he didn't, but either way.
But his back was turned, so all he thought was he's blocking the ball. He had no idea what was a pass.
They scored a touchdown after that,
mm-hmm.
and that could have been the difference in the game. We still only won the game by 1 point, scoring with 18 seconds left.
Yep. And I'm going to go back to something that pissed me off, which is not the Nebraska game. Sorry, Ohio State, Penn State. They called a pass interference in the end zone on one of their their second to last drive.
I know exactly.
It might have actually been the game-winning drive. I think it was the game-winning drive.
I know exactly.
Pass in the end zone. They called it pass interference on Penn State. Let's clarify what pass interference is. Pass interference is any time you prevent the wide receiver from catching the football. You prevent them from having an opportunity to catch the ball. That's essentially, in a nutshell, what pass interference is,
right.
Correct?
Yes.
So, Penn State receiver, no, he did not turn his head. But guess what else he didn't do? Touch the wide receiver for Ohio State, and the ball was thrown short. 3 or 4 yards short.
Yes, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
It didn't even hit the feet of the Penn State guy, and he didn't touch the guy was backpedaling. He wasn't coming back towards the ball. There's no way that's pass interference. And that drove me nuts. I was so mad. I should not get fired up about this as much as I do, but there's no way that was pass interference on the Penn State defender. And to me, that they ended up scoring a touchdown on the drive.
Yep.
And I believe, if I remember
correct, it was either
correct,
the second to last touchdown or the last one.
It gave him the lead, if I remember correct. Whether that was the game-winning one or whether that was the one before, but it made a difference in the game, if you ask me, because that put him on like the 2-yard line, and I think Barrett ran it in or something. But I think I've seen a lot of poor reffing.
Yeah.
In college football this year, where some of the calls, it's like, no, like it's like when a pass goes up to a receiver and he's covered one-on-one, automatically a flag comes out. And there's been some targeting calls this year that I think maybe weren't targeting.
Do you guys watch the NFL games? Did you see Joe Flacco get hit the other night? He got his freaking head ripped off, and they didn't even get like a penalty or anything.
I think there's been less targeting calls this year than last year, though.
Probably.
I think guys, but I've also seen a lot more of this. Like pushing the shoulder into the shoulder rather than wrapping up.
Nebraska does that a lot. Guys jump with their shoulders and they don't wrap up. It drives me insane.
College football players are scared to get targeting penalties. That's why you don't see it very often anymore. I think this year especially.
Well, yeah, because if you're one of the big players on defense and you get one of those, you could be out either that whole rest of the game or half of that game and half of the next game. Yeah. And that's a big swing in some of these games.
Yeah. So I think we've seen a lot of good things in college football this year. Seen a lot of good plays. Seen a lot of fun games. Have a lot more to go. This next 4 weeks, like I said, hold on to your hats, people.
We're only 2/3 of the way through.
Glue your ass to the seat because you're going to see some good football.
And I was going to say something about this earlier. Just about every year of these college football, and it could change this year, but just about every single one of these playoff years since they started the playoff, some team that was like just outside of the top 10 ends up making it in.
Yeah. Iowa State.
Oklahoma State.
No. Iowa State's got 2 losses. I don't think they have a chance. Even though only 1 loss in the Big 12, but I don't think they have a chance. So here's my hopes. Big 12 plays themselves out of the possibility of getting in.
Okay.
Big 10. Come on, Penn State. I mean, I still think Penn State has a shot, but Ohio State has to lose. Or Michigan State. Michigan State has a shot.
I think, Matt, I hate to say this, but
I know.
I think Ohio State's going. I think they're going. I think they're going to make it. Unless Wisconsin can beat them.
If Michigan State beats them, and Michigan State beats Penn State,
that's a tall order back-to-back weeks.
I know. But how awesome would that be?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's going to be fun. So, I really hope you guys enjoy the rest of college football. I hope you guys enjoy the show.
Florida, back off our next coach, all right?
Yeah, we need to talk about Scott Frost. So, Scott Frost, once again, he's a spread offense team. I was talking to someone earlier. it's kind of funny that Florida would look at a Scott Frost, and here's why. What is Scott Frost? What's his specialty?
Scoring.
Offense. What's the Florida and SEC all about? Defense. So what do they gain from bringing a offensive-minded coach to Florida?
The potential to score some points on offense, not just defense. Because they're pretty bad.
This is like NCAA football 101,
pretty
man.
bad.
Good answer. You get an A+.
They are pretty bad on offense, though.
But really.
Which is why they're 3-4 now. They're not very good.
No, but really.
They can't score. That's why they want somebody like that. But
you bring in a guy like him, you're looking at potentially 3 years before you get anybody to run that offense. You got to get a quarterback. You got to get running backs. You got to get wide receivers who are high-powered. That's not going to be easy. Now, Florida doesn't have a problem recruiting defense, but they don't recruit the high-powered offensive guys. Not that I'm saying Scott Frost should come to Nebraska. What I'm saying is Scott Frost to Florida might not be the best idea for him or for Florida, just because they're still looking at another 3 years, if not more, before they're successful. Yes, he turned UCF around, but Central Florida is different. They're a different subject. They're
not playing LSU one week, Alabama the next week, Tennessee the next week, Georgia the next week.
They don't have the recruits that Florida, that FU has. So it's a different ball game for an offensive coach to go to a defensive-minded school. But not to say they won't go for him.
No, they are. They're trying for him.
But I just don't know if it would be the right move for Florida. I hate Florida, but if they want to be successful, I don't know if that's what they want from a coach. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I mean, shoot, man, that could be a great fit. Maybe not, but it could be a great fit for us and maybe not. So it just depends on. And I've heard he's pretty. When he went into UCF, he said, "I'm committed to turn this program around."
Been 2 years.
I know, and he has. But he also said, when I recruit these kids, I give them a commitment that, we're going to build something. And then what, is he just going to leave after 2 years?
I don't think he's going anywhere.
I don't think so either. Unless somebody throws like $5 or $6 million at him, maybe $7 million at him.
I think if someone throws $5 million, he'll go. But with Central Florida, I think
here's my checkbook.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's going to stay at least 1 or 2 more years. I don't think he didn't, when he left Oregon for a head coaching job, there's a reason why he didn't come to Nebraska. There's a reason why he didn't go to Oregon.
It was too early to come to Nebraska. It was too early to go somewhere.
He even said he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for the Power 5, I don't think.
Yeah.
As a coordinator, absolutely. He would have been great as an offense coordinator for Nebraska, especially with the offense that we potentially could have.
Especially with the talent that we have.
Minus Tanner Lee, because he can't run.
Gosh, he's so slow.
But I don't think Nebraska gets Scott Frost. As much as people want him, I don't think so, because for one, Florida might offer more money. I don't know if there's a lot of talk about Mike Leach. Not that I think it's a good fit, especially with Bo's antics in post-game interviews.
That dude's hilarious, though, man.
Leach is hilarious, but he's
epic, man.
He's whack. Anyways, so there's a lot to go on still. A lot to talk about in the coaching field. So I got nothing else. You got anything else?
No.
That's all we got today, folks. Thanks for watching Two Average Guys. We're going to finish it off with a little bit of the used. Watch the baseball game
tonight. Finish it off, Astros.
Watch the show. Hope you guys enjoy it. Comment. Let us know what you think about the playoff. Any gripes, any grudges, if you're pissed off.
Let's get some upsets this weekend.
Let's do it.